I'm Kimberly Ashley, and I'm a founding editor of the Editor Garden and a book coach to professionals seeking to increase their visibility, credibility, and profitability. So visibility is right there. I'm all about visibility also. Yeah. In our Book Blossom series, we talk with authors about their books, the important ideas explored within them, and the author's publishing journey. And today our guest is Susan Barber. Susan Barber is an author, podcast host. She has a wonderful podcast, I can tell you that. I've been listening to it. Former Fortune 500 IT director turned certified executive coach that helps business leaders to play bigger, increase their visibility, and shine a light on their leadership strengths so they can elevate their position in the workplace. She brings a depth of knowledge to her coaching from her 25 plus years of leadership experience at Kraft Heinz. As the author and podcast host of The Visibility Factor, she is creating a visibility movement for leaders to show their value and be seen for their true talent. Susan is married with 3 children and, as we've already established, lives in the Chicago area. So welcome, Susan. Her book is The Visibility Factor.
Oh, thanks.
Break through your fears, stand in your
Nice.
own power, and become the authentic leader you were meant to be.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk to everybody.
Absolutely. So we're the last 10 minutes or so, we're gonna talk first, you and I, and then we'll open it up to some questions from attendees. And we'll be giving away a copy of your book.
Thank
And
you.
so we have a fun way of determining who's going to be the winner. So this is how it's going to go. When you hear something that you connect with, something that resonates for you in your life, or you have some kind of aha moment and you make a connection, I want you to type visibility, hashtag visibility in the chat box and a few words about what resonated with you, what connection you're making. So hashtag visibility and the connection. And then at the end, I'm going to scroll through and pick a winner. And one of my lights just turned off. So I don't know why. Now it's darker, but I'm going to go with it. We're just a little bit cozier here. I'll have to
It
get like a
is.
handle or something, but okay. So again, welcome, Susan. I love what you're doing with helping professionals gain visibility, especially, and you lead this in your book, and it was a question that I asked when I first saw you, which was on International Coach Federation chapter meeting here in Jacksonville, Florida, for the
Mhm.
North Florida chapter. And I asked about visibility for the introvert. And so you discussed that a little bit there. And you actually kind of close to the beginning talk about it in your book. It may even be in their introduction, if I remember correctly. So for introverts like myself, I love that you're doing this. Um, and I was also struck by your passion for the power of visibility, what it can do for in our lives, and how we can mentor and help other people. When we gain it, bring other people along too. That really impressed me. So kind of let's start with an understanding of what visibility means in this context.
I mean, I think for me, it's always been about how to show up in a bigger way and not be afraid of it. I think that was definitely my experience for a long time was I shied away from it and I was afraid of it. I am more of an introvert as well. And I just found that it was, I don't know, scary to be out there in front of people. I might say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing. And I have a lot of perfectionist tendencies at that point in my life. And I didn't want anyone to call me out and say something and say I did something wrong or any of that. So for me, it was scary to be visible. And the more I learned about how to be visible in my own authentic way and not be somebody that I saw as a bragging person or somebody who talks all the time in meetings, I thought, I actually can do this. It's not as scary as I thought it was. And I can take little steps every day towards visibility in my own way. And all of those actions and things that I learned along the way are what I put into the book to help other teams and leaders and now my clients do the same thing.
Mhm. Was there, so that's kind of like wrapped in with your story. Was there a particular, and there we go with the other lights off now. Okay, whatever. Let's
Uh,
just go
we'll
with
go
it.
with it.
Um, Was there a particular moment or period in your life where it really became super important and maybe that's where the seed for the idea for the book came. I
Mhm.
see that with a lot of books in this um, genre, is that a person was going through a difficult moment, or they needed this thing in their life. And after they realized how to gain it, then they wanted to share it with others.
Yeah.
So was there a period like that for you?
Yeah, definitely. It was, so it's chapter 1 for anybody who reads the book. It's
Yeah.
when my mentor came up to me, and we've had multiple conversations before this, but at that moment, I was what was considered a top talent in my company, gone through multiple leadership programs, should be in line for the next promotion. And her message to me at that moment was, why are you hiding in the back of the room? Why are you sitting there quietly? Why are you even coming to the meetings? You're not adding any value. So to go from being a top talent 1 minute to now being told, why do you even come to meetings in the next minute, was a huge, huge shock to my system. And I just couldn't even process what was happening. And it all came down to, I think I got complacent. I think I took that you're being a top talent a little too seriously and thought I didn't have to do anything else. That's all I needed. But that was clearly wrong. And so her telling me that was the biggest gift I ever got. Her telling me that you're not being visible enough. You're not doing the things we expect for someone at your level. And if you really want to continue to grow with this company, you're going to have to make some shifts. And that's where I started down this path of understanding how to be visible for myself and to begin to teach others what I was learning.
What I really love about that story is you took that raw feedback from her, which a lot of folks, it would have hit them and they would have been, oh no, what? I don't belong here. I'm going to shrink even smaller.
Yeah.
And you didn't. You used that to grow and as inspiration to look at how you can become more visible. I think that's really um, awesome and
Thank you.
amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know, honestly, I probably would have been more, it would have probably taken me quite a while to process that.
Well, yeah, it took me a
But
minute for sure. At
yeah,
that moment, I was a little defensive and I had to say, okay, this isn't going to be helpful right now to be
right.
defensive. You're going to have to figure it out later.
Well, I think one of the reasons why it might hit a person like me, and you mentioned it already here, is perfectionism. I also, deal with a lot of people, obviously, who want to write books that have this trait of perfectionism, and it can really get in the way of them completing their project or their expectations for how the book will turn out, what it will do, the time frame in which it'll take, all that kind of stuff. So if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about what it was like for you to realize perfectionism was maybe getting in your way, and how does it influence attempts at visibility? And what can we do
Yeah.
to get over that if that's something that we have?
I think I spent a lot of time reading Brene Brown, and she helped
Yeah.
me get some perspective on perfectionism. I took her class that she was doing with Oprah at one point, which was helping people understand that you are enough just as you are right now. You don't have to do anything special or anything different. You're great. And so that was kind of my first introduction to that. And then the other impactful thing that she did was talk about, when you are trying to be a perfectionist, all you're trying to do is avoid criticism. And it goes right back into that place of, do you feel like an imposter? You're trying to be perfect in order to prove to everybody that you should be there. And, perfection is an illusion. That's one of my recent podcast episodes, because it's just not reality. You can never attain it. And people are wasting so much energy trying to be perfect, when if you could just trust yourself and realize that you're wonderful the way you are right now, it just takes all that pressure off of you and you can actually show up in your best way.
I was talking to an expert in the mental health area. We were talking about perfectionism, and she kind of defined it really in terms of performance anxiety. And she talked
Mm,
about athletes having that performance anxiety, and how it can't, they have to get past it. They can't let it overtake them. And I think, yeah, you said about trust, like trusting in your own talents, trusting in your hard work, um, trusting in the people who have given you positive feedback about yourself, and that they were, you know, kind, intelligent people, and they wouldn't lie to you. And so, yeah, they're not lying to
yes.
me. So they're obviously, it's there. And just letting performance part of it, just be what it's going to be. Like now with my lights going out and,
Yes.
you
Imperfect
know,
world, right?
little
We just go with
imperfect.
it. Yeah, go with it.
So, and, before I started kind of working in this area myself, personally, that I don't know if it might have shut me down. And that's what perfectionism can do. It can shut us down. And I think another word for it is, you know, procrastination,
Mm-hmm.
because it gives us that excuse to say, oh, I just wanted to be perfect before I start,
Right, exactly.
before I get it out there.
Yep.
And like you said, that it's an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
There's no perfect
Mm-hmm.
at all.
No.
That's a flag for me, actually, if someone contacts me, and this actually has happened before. And we went on to work on several books together. But when someone says, I want the book to be perfect, I just want it to be perfect. And that's like a red flag for me, because I tell them right away, there is no such thing as perfect. Even the best writers in the world could go back and make something a little bit tighter, a little bit, more engaging. So if really like that's top key for you, I might not be your girl.
Right.
I'm gonna be
Right.
the one. So we talk about expectations right away.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because they can really get in the way. So that's also a part of you mentioned imposter syndrome, and you spend a whole chapter later in the book on
Mhm.
imposter syndrome. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that plays in with visibility?
Well, I think in so many ways, if I think back to my, that part of the moment where I was sitting in the back of the room, all of the thoughts in my head were about imposter syndrome. I'm not good enough to sit at the table with the executive team. I don't know enough. I'm not smart enough. They know way more than I do. So I was in comparison a lot. I thought I had to be like all of those people. And what I realized is that it was like an internal struggle for me. It was taking all my energy to be that person that I think that they wanted me to be. Now, they never said that, by the way. That was my own internal vision of what I thought I should be.
Mhm.
No one ever told me that, but I kept trying to be, I think, what they wanted me to be. And so as I started to realize and trust myself and trust that I knew more and trust that I needed to be there for my team, it just helped me let go of some of that stuff and let go of that in a big way so that I could actually show up in a better way for people and actually have recommendations and ideas to share and not be shy about them. Because a business mentor of mine, when I was going through some of this, said, "Sue, you were hired for a reason. And if you don't say anything in the room, then the people above you cannot make a decision because you're the one who knows the answers." And it was like, oh gosh, of course, right? If I'm not in the room talking about it, how are they going to know, what to do? So that was another moment of course, right? This makes more sense if I just show up as myself and not try to be what I think everybody else thinks I should be and just do what I need to do.
I know for in the field of writing, right? So I went to get an MFA, Vermont College of Fine Arts, yay. And I ran into this term there over and over again, imposter syndrome. And for the folks there, it was a lot like I must have gotten in this college on some sort of accident or a fluke. I'm not really supposed to be here, right? And when
Yeah.
they discover that I'm really not that great of a writer, they're going to come in and haul me away in the middle of a critique group. Everybody's going to point and laugh at me and say, "Oh, you weren't supposed to be here." That
Yeah.
kind of like actually like you're wearing a disguise, right? And you're in there with your little
Yes.
mustache, your little glasses, and you're not supposed to be there. You know, um, you name a couple of different like types or traits.
Mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit about those? I think the perfectionist was one of them. What were some of
Yeah.
the
I mean,
others?
I have 6 in the book and I kind of created my own names for them, but I also gave kind of the more generic name with them. But procrastination is one, boundaries, holding your boundaries, being able to, perfectionism is another one, procrastination, boundaries. I'm trying to think of the other 3 that are escaping my brain right now. But those are things that show up for you at different times, whether that's in your career, whether that's in your life. all of those things show up at different times. And so as I wrote about all of those, I thought, I remember when that one happened for me. I remember when this one happened for me. I remember when this one happened for me. And so all of those things just show up at different times, but they have overlaps. So, oh, another one was people pleasing.
Mhm.
People pleasing and boundaries are very tightly knit together because people don't want to say no to other people. So you'll let your boundaries go at any time and give in to other people to make them happy, but you may be miserable. You may be doing something that other people want you to do, but it's not exactly what you want to do. But in order to keep the peace and keep the harmony, you will do it and give up your
Going
time.
along with their idea, in
Right.
a business setting, we're in this group and we're supposed to be figuring this out. And someone's put out an idea and you don't want to upset them. You don't want to rock the boat. You won't be seen as the, excuse my language, but the bitchy girl that has to make a fuss. So that can get in the way. I've
Hmm.
dealt with that before, for myself personally. And then I get past it because yeah, I can't handle it. I have to say something. If I think that like it's the wrong way, or let's just try, maybe let's think about it this way. That's
Yeah,
one way to think about it. How about we think about it this way, right?
of course. Yeah.
Um, so one of the traits is also known as plays small, but it's diminished and devalued.
Yeah.
Thought that was very interesting. Playing small, I don't know who originally coined it, but I've heard it so much in like maybe the last, I'm thinking like 5 years or so. I don't know where it first appeared, but it's kind of a buzz term now.
Hmm.
So what do you see that as when it comes to visibility?
I That's the one which I can't believe I didn't remember that one, because that's the one I think I had the most aha moments about as I was researching the book. That one is the one that I realized I was hiding behind stronger voices, or people who had bigger personalities, or people who I again thought were smarter than I was. And it came up in a couple different things after I left craft, and it showed up in different ways, but I realized I could feel it like a pit in my stomach. Like, you are not showing up in the way that you need to. And you're just using, all of these other people that you think may know more than you do, but actually you have a lot of good ideas if you would just go forward. I think I was just scared about starting a business and becoming a coach. And I think there's this transition that a lot of people in corporate have gone through of, I've been super successful in my corporate career, and now I'm going into this other career and I don't know enough. I need more coaching hours, I need more training hours, I need to learn how to start a business. And so you hide behind all these things thinking that you need to do more to get ready, when you actually have all of this experience already under your belt, and you just need to tap into it and talk to other people, because that's how I learned how to do all this. But that was my moment of, you're playing small, you're not playing as big as you could be, and you're now writing a book about visibility. It's time to let that go. You have to step up in a bigger way, or no one's going to know about the book.
I like how you talk in the book about risk.
Hmm.
And that's part of it. If you're playing small, it's like a fear thing, right? You just don't want to risk. There's safety there in
Of
playing
course.
small.
Yes. Yep.
But there's also your it's easier to hide small things, right, than to hide
Mhm.
big
Of
things.
course. Yes.
So when we're playing small, we can stay hidden, whether it's like literally hiding in our office or hiding and networking, not talking to people and stuff, or just in a metaphorical way, not offering ideas, not not well, we haven't talked about this, but engaging in social media, and we talked just before the webinar started about the latest article you have on LinkedIn, and that actually is a way to be
Mhm.
visible as well.
Yeah.
Um, but there's a way, right? There's a way to get past all this, and that's what your book offers, the
Mhm.
visibility factor and the framework. You call it a framework, you also refer to it as process, and you also refer to it as a metaphor, how you think
Mhm.
about how to create a visibility path for yourself. What is the acronym you give for that? And can you tell us more about that framework?
Sure. Yeah. It's a 4-step process called RISE. And it actually stands for reflect, ideate, select, and evaluate. And it's the 4-step process that I walk people through to create their own visibility action plan. What I want them to be able to do is to understand with reflect where they are, where they want to go. Why is visibility important from them? How are they going to be able to leverage it once they get it? Ideate has a list of ideas that they can come up with or tap into the hundreds of ideas that I have in there.
You do.
So
You have a lot of
I have a
ideas.
lot of
I was
ideas.
like, this is wow. This is like right. So there's so many ideas here.
It
If you
was
can't come up
interesting.
with your own, just like go like this and just
Yep. Yep. I tried to organize it by things that might be people's strengths. Like I'm a good speaker, so I could use something there. I like to write, or I like to do podcasts, whatever it is. Reading that in audio form was interesting because I was like, there's a lot of ideas here, Sue. And then select is about selecting the ideas, but then also identifying how you're going to do it. What's the approach you're going to take? Do you need help from other people? How are you going to measure if you're successful or not? And then evaluate is taking the feedback that you get from other people and trying to apply whether or not you are successful. Do you need to keep doing this action that you're doing, or are you at a point where you've successfully mastered that and you can pick some new ideas? So the reason I see it as a metaphor is like you're trying to rise up and be something bigger than you are. Rise up and be open to the spotlight. That's a
well, to go along with our lights going out, now we have the screen freezing up. I hope it's not my side. Susan, if you can hear me, I think your screen has frozen. Avery, can you tell me in the chat box if you can hear me? She's frozen here too.
I don't know what happened, but
Yeah, but nothing's perfect.
We're definitely going with the nothing's
theme,
perfect.
Hashtag visibility, nothing is perfect.
Oh, imperfect
Someone
world.
put that for me. That's someone, please put that for me. That's my connection.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, so we were saying a metaphor, right? So it's a metaphor for rising up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And being comfortable.
Right now, I don't know where it came from, and this is an 80s reference, but as soon as I said rising up, I thought of Release the Kraken and Clash of the Titans.
Definitely big,
Kimberly,
right? Big.
Susan.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is a funny one too. Also earlier tonight, it might be because I have this cold I'm dealing with, and I have had some cough syrup, y'all. But so it's another 80s thing I had stuck in my head. Olivia Newton-John's Let's Get Physical, but it was Let's Get Visible.
Somebody just put that on something, right?
Are you serious?
Yes, they did. I
Oh.
forget. Oh, I know what it was. It was a podcast I was on, and they wrote at the bottom, "Let's get visible," and all I could think of was "Let's get physical" when I saw it.
We need to write that song. Let's get visible, visible.
Yeah, there we go.
Time
Love
to
a
get
theme
your
song.
face out.
I'll have a theme song. That'll be fun.
That would be great. Okay, so let's talk about subtitles, right? I'm very into titles. I love the visibility factor. I've told you this before. I absolutely love this cover.
Thank
Think
you.
this cover is fantastic.
Thank you.
The just in terms of design, the lights coming down here in different stages matches these coming up in different. Anyway, very balanced, very good. And in the, I think of titles as a promise to the reader, right? And you definitely deliver by giving them the visibility factor, but also in the subtitle, break through your fears, stand in your own power, and become the authentic leader you are meant to be. And I really latch on to authentic leader because I think that is very, very needed in this world of kind of corporate sameness, personality, an authentic way of being. How does that tie in with visibility in your mind, and how can it lead to authentic leadership?
Well, when I put that subtitle there, it was partially my own like mantra of how to live up to what I would like people to get from this book. And it was my own journey of being able to realize that I had power, realize that I could step into authentic power for me. It didn't have to be what other people's look like. It could be my own. But the authentic piece for me is, when you think about that rise process, they get to create their own plan the way it works for them. It's unique to them. It doesn't have to be like anybody else's. And even if someone else is doing something that you like, you can adapt it and make it authentic for you. Because the thing that I tell people when they go through the class on this is that if you don't make this plan authentic for you, you're not going to stick to it. You're not going to keep doing it. You're going to feel like it's false. And then you're going to stop. And then you're not going to get visible like you want to be. So to me, it's just trying to trust yourself, be in your own space, and know that you have all the right answers. And then just take these actions in this plan and start doing them. And you'll start to see how people react to you in a different way. And that just builds confidence. It just builds your confidence in a big way. And then they start to see, actually, I know way more than I thought. Actually, I'm doing better than I thought. It's all about how they see the world through that lens of I'm doing the right things.
And they can choose their own, like sort of a menu, you choose all these
Hmm.
options and you have your own visibility plan. Um, and maybe some things don't show up on it right away. Like maybe you have some fears around public speaking. That's a common one for people,
Hmm.
right? I am more likely to want to go out and talk to a huge group of people than have a small networking conversation one-to-one.
Yeah.
But so I'm kind of the opposite, but public speaking is one. So maybe that doesn't go on your list, and maybe you don't write a book right away or something like that. But I think when you're helping people create this visibility plan, or they're creating it for themselves and they're going out and accomplishing it. We talked about building on some wins earlier, right? Um, then those other things don't seem so impossible. You can kind of inch or expand as you go along.
Right.
And maybe the things on your visibility plan the first time you take the pathway through it are easier things for you, more in your comfort zone.
Hmm.
And then you can stretch out a little bit. Like this webinar series is huge for me because I don't like to be on video. I don't like photographs, don't like video, don't like anything like that. And I had some great encouragement from a wonderful business coach that I have. Um, and was just basically pick a day you're going to do this. So I did. And I don't think he expected me to say, okay, now I'm going to do it monthly. But I had such a good time, and I met some people along the way, you being one of them, before when I just had come up with this idea. And you were like, I was worried about the technology piece, like, freezing cameras and lights going out and, internet things and stuff like that. And you said, well, I was an IT director. You ask me anything, we'll get that figured out. And I'm like, okay, well, now I got this help. I can do this thing. Um, yeah. So I think it's very key that it's a way that people can create their own plan.
Hmm.
And it's not a cookie cutter, here, do these 7 steps, and you
Yeah.
have to do it this way, and you have to do it this many times a week, and you have to do for it to work. And I think some people they might want that, or they might want some kind of magic pill, sort of
Hmm.
one glorious thing, do the viral video and that'll be it, which, yeah, try to do that, try to get that
Yeah.
to happen, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I think the way that you have it laid out it does lead to authenticity. It does result in that.
Hmm.
So I think that is awesome. In the And did you find did that like come to you as you were starting to write the book, or you were in the process of writing the book? Did you have the title? This is like different for different people, but did you start out with the title exactly the way it was and then write from there, or did the title come later?
The title actually came really early. When I started with the book writing process, I had, I don't know, probably over 1,000 blogs when I started. And so I kept thinking, well, I've got all these blogs. It shouldn't be that big of a deal to write a book. I'll just take a lot of the blogs and I'll repurpose them and turn it into a book. That was completely wrong and
Yeah, I
not
have
what
feelings
happened at
about that. I
all.
have
Yeah.
feelings about that. People
Uh,
told me they wanted to do that. I helped somebody like not do that once, and yeah.
yeah, I basically had to undo everything that I thought I had built and start over. So I really use the title honestly as kind of the North Star to go after all the time. And I always thought about what is the core message I'm trying to give to people? What is the promise that I want to live up to, so that they can see that they can do this? Because what we created was what we called immutable laws. And so my immutable law was that you have a virtual coach with you the entire way throughout the book. And I wanted them to feel that way. And one of my trade reviews basically said, it's like you have an invisible coach with you the whole way. I was like, sweet, this is exactly what I wanted. And I also, always thought about Brene Brown kind of in the back of my head a little bit about how she's changed the conversation about shame and vulnerability and made that okay. And I wanted the same thing about visibility, because I think a lot of people saw it as negative, or saw it as somebody who brags and didn't want to do it. And I wanted to show that that's how I thought about it. And now I've changed the way that I've thought about it, and I can help you see it in a different way that's in a positive way for you, that you can do this. Because if you think about the ideas in the book, they're creating a visibility plan for where they are now, but they're going to move to the next level, and they need to go back in and do a next level of visibility now. So I wanted it to be a guide that they can continue to refer to and be able to go to the next level and the next level,
Mhm.
and still have new ideas to draw from.
Yeah. So it does, it does expand each
Mhm,
time.
mhm.
Um, and y- something that you were saying, and I'm going to lose my train of thought here because, 54. So, so, um, people criticizing, um, attempts to be visible. I think there was something in there about that. And I've run into that myself, and I've had friends who have run into that where, and that might be to some extent in our culture, a gender related topic. Right. So, uh, the idea that if you speak out and you're a woman, then you're being bossy. Bossy is a word that's
Mhm.
been used to describe me a number of times. And I don't see it, but but I know me. Do I like control? Do I like to have things turn out well? And do I like to manage things? Yeah, but I I don't want to get like too gripey about it, but I have thought before, if I was a guy, you wouldn't be saying that,
Mhm.
right?
For
I
sure.
would just be assertive, right? And there are other words, not so pleasant words that are used about women when it comes to making their voice heard. Um, how are there specialized ways we can work past that? Are there things that we can do when something like that arises, maybe right at the moment or when we go back and reflect on it, when we
It's
get that
interesting.
criticism from people?
Yeah, it came up the first time I ever heard the whole bossy thing. I mean, I probably had heard it before this, but it was around the time of the Sheryl Sandberg's book, with the lean in, and then she came up with the bossy thing. And at that time, I was leading our employee resource group at Kraft, and we were talking to over 100 locations about situations and how to help them prepare for promotions and to be more visible and talk about the things that they were doing. And they had a lot of people that kept saying, I'm on the production line and I have an idea. And when I have my idea, it gets shut down. They just ignore me because I think it's because I'm a woman and I'm one of the minority here at the plant. And, it really brought home for me, how can we help them have a voice? How can we help them amplify their ideas in a different way that maybe can be heard, right? Maybe it's not that first time that you say it, but maybe there's another way to say it. And there's other situations where a lot of times you may be in a meeting and you say something that's great and brilliant, and then someone else will say the exact same thing slightly differently and talks over you, and their idea is gold and your idea is somehow now lost. And so, what I try to tell people to do in that moment is not give up on that. Don't let it go and say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you reiterated exactly what I just said. That's so amazing, because you need to call out that you said it first, right? Otherwise, people just are not going to recognize that you were the person. And I remember it happened to me multiple times, and I just let it go at those moments until I learned some of this stuff, because we have an opportunity, I think, especially as women, to make sure that we're supporting each other in meetings, to make sure that, Kimberly, if you and I were in a meeting together, I'd say, oh my gosh, I think Kimberly has some great points on this. Kimberly, would you like to share that with the group? So if I have the mic, I give it to you. If and especially, I think it's true for introverted people too.
We're having some
You
technical difficulties again. I don't know if you can hear me,
oh,
Susan.
crap. Oh, no.
Yes, this is
Yeah, I
freezing
can hear
again.
you. Can you hear me? Why is this freezing tonight? I've been on it all day. I'm so sorry, everybody.
That's okay.
I don't know where you lost me.
My lights, you're freezing. Um, I'm hot over here and you're cold.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah. So I don't know
Um,
where you left,
you
where I
said
left you.
you said especially for introverts.
Okay.
That's
So
what I
what I
heard. I heard introvert.
thank you. So I just wanted to make sure that even introverts get an opportunity to speak, and they're not the ones that are probably going to be the first ones to raise their hand and say, I have an idea. And so you can be a stronger voice in the room and help them have a voice and be inclusive with people who are underrepresented, people who are introverted. Give them opportunities to speak when you know that they may not do it on their own initially until they get that confidence, and then they'll start doing it on their own. But sometimes they need some support to do that.
So there is a way in which visibility intersects with diversity and inclusion
Mhm.
in certain ways. And I think I like that you pointed out in the book and that we take into consideration as we're able to rise and gain more visibility, that we offer that to other people who may have a little bit harder time accessing it to rise
Mhm.
with us. You mentioned that several times within like different ideas and different parts of the book about um, aligning with the people who are influential in a
Mhm.
situation. And I love that idea. I try to do it with people who have the same kind of outlook and values that I have, rather than just anyone's. And I don't think that's what you were applying, but finding out who the influences are, and talking with them, talking with your manager, you know, uh, letting things be known. My son has come to me before and he's in the corporate, he's in finance in the corporate setting, and he's asked me about how much should I go in and ask for this? Should I go in and do that? Should I say, should I? And I'm always like, yeah, I mean, you've got to put yourself out there. Now, granted, he's of a demographic that it's a little bit easier for, and it's a little bit
Mhm.
expected, and nobody's going to call him bossy.
Right.
But he still has to have the courage to go out there. He's not an introvert, he's an extrovert, but he doesn't want to. First, he's a people pleaser. We'll say that. I don't know. He might not, he'll never see this. He'll never see this. He won't go on YouTube and see this, but he can be a little bit people pleasing. So he would have to watch out for that. Um, yeah, so writing process. This is your first book. It is, yes. Okay.
Mhm.
And was there any part that you either struggled with and had to work through and learn something about writing from that, or was much easier than you thought? And maybe were worried about it, but it wasn't such a hard part of the process. Can you speak
Mm.
about what was it like for you to write a book, Susan Barber?
Oh, what was it like? It was 4 years of learning a lot about myself. It was very cathartic. Honestly, I didn't expect it to be, but it was reliving all of those stories again and those experiences. You have to go back in time and be at the time of the reader, right? So those people who are just going through those experiences that I've now already been through, but I have to go back in time and remember how that felt. So doing that, writing stories that are impactful, not including every story I could ever write. There's a lot I did not include in the book. I had in there and I thought, I don't know if this really works anymore. I thought it was cool, but it's not really good. So I pulled it. But I think for me, it was just learning about the editing process was very fun. I never thought editing would be fun, and I absolutely love it. The things that I've learned about that have helped me tremendously. Um, the community that I was a part of, knowing that there is a lot of authors out there, would be authors who are all doing their best to get their books out there and spending time to do that every day. We wrote every single day, and taking the time to do that was, I in my head, I thought I had to go lock myself away in a cabin some way for 3 months and write a book, and then it would be done. And what I learned is that you can write every day and really make a difference in how much you progress. And so all of those things were good things. But I think the biggest aha moment was just, you have to be vulnerable in order to put a book out in the world, because it's like you're putting your baby out there and you don't want anyone to call your baby ugly. And you want to make sure that you're doing the best that you can with it. But in order to do that, that meant I had to drop a lot of emotional armor that I was holding on to, and things that I had experienced that I wasn't willing to let go of yet. And so the more I was able to do that, I think the book is so much better because of it. Absolutely better because of it.
It's a big risk,
Yeah.
right? And we had that little perfectionism bug in us, right?
Mhm.
So that's a hard one when you're
Yeah.
going to put something out there like that. Um, but when we can get past it, we can do some amazing things and take that risk. I hear that phrase a lot about um, it's my baby. And I've heard, I mean, people have so many people have called before. This is how I'm working on. It's been my baby. And in a way, I understand the metaphor, but I hate it because I might have to tell you to kill your baby.
Yes. True. That's true.
I don't like them to think about it that way because it's not. And we could take all the words in that book and throw them up into the air and rearrange them in a different way, and you would have a new little baby,
Mhm.
you know. So I just think that's funny. Um, so let's see. Are you working on another one now?
I am not.
The next book. Is
I've
there a
had
journal? Is there a
there.
workbook?
Yeah, there's a whole list of things that I have as on the horizon. I've been asked to do something in more in line with like young adults, even teenagers, because
Oh,
a lot of parents have said this is amazing. Could you write something for them, because they are just on this journey and beginning to learn. And I have two who are out of college and one who is still in high school at home here, and so I've seen their journey and how they have learned a lot of the things that I'm talking about. So I can see that it would be amazing. I just have to figure out how to like really frame that in a way that they could hear it. I think that's the important piece. And I'm not quite there yet.
my greatest love in writing is the young adult audience, YA
Mhm,
books, YA
mhm.
fiction novels, as a matter of
Yeah.
fact, working on one now.
Nice.
And that's what I hope to publish and thrive in for myself creatively. Um, I think that would be fantastic.
Mhm.
And in a world where, I mean, we deal with social media and pressures, being visible online in that world, but they really do,
For sure.
right?
Yeah.
And so um, how do you maybe for them even, maybe for grown-ups too, protect yourself when it comes to visibility,
Mhm.
right? What
Mhm.
you allow to be seen, how you show up and present yourself, kind of stuff. That could be a really incredible book. And there's a big need in YA right now and children's in general for nonfiction work
Yeah, I mean, that
of
makes
some
a ton
kind.
of sense. I think about my own experience. Like, I could go home from school, nobody would know what I was doing, right? I had no social media, I had no phone. They'd have to actually physically call my landline if they wanted to talk to me, or come to my house.
Mhm.
And so you could get away from the daily stuff that's happening outside of your world. You didn't have to see them. Like if you broke up with a boyfriend at school or something, I didn't have to see him all night, right? Until the next day.
Right.
Or if I wanted to go do something in sports or whatever, nobody knew what I was doing. And I think it's the 24/7 seeing what everybody's doing at every second of the day. And not only people you know, but celebrities, influencers who are all trying to get your attention and tell you how wonderful they are when their lives are probably not perfect, right? Nobody's is. So trying to create that and live up to that, I just feel like that's contributing to the anxiety, the stress, the I don't know, a lot of more suicides are happening now, I think, than ever. And it's just this constant comparison that people are living in is really, really draining.
So for some in certain situations or ages, the visibility factor is so much more than getting your face out there, making yourself more visible. It's you're managing that in a healthy way and protecting
Hmm.
yourself. And that's still part of the factor, right?
Yeah,
How to
yeah.
protect yourself, how to manage it is still part of the factor. It isn't always just um, be seen more, more, more.
Yes, that's
I
not
can, I
always
think that could lead to some really sticky situations, and I'm sure has
correct.
for a whole lot of people,
Correct.
right?
Yeah. And in different
Um,
situations for sure.
yeah. So we have some time here for some questions. I'm not sure any have come in. And to make this a goofy night a little bit goofier, I did not do my poll at the beginning.
Oh, that's right. You said you were
So
going to do that. I forgot.
so we can actually we're gonna do a little backwards. We're gonna do our poll that you was supposed to be at the beginning or at the end. So this is poll question number one. I don't know if panelists can see poll questions. You could tell me,
Oh,
Sue.
I can see it. Hmm.
Okay. So why did you decide to spend your valuable time attending this webinar? So we can know that now. I hope I launched it for them. Yeah, I did. Um, we have, I know little about visibility, but want to advance my career. Here's another. I am interested in books about visibility and leadership. We have folks who are actively working to increase their visibility and need more help. We can mention this now then, if you're actively working on it. If you buy Susan's book and you email her and Avery put up her email address and she can put it up again. If you buy it and you send a receipt of it, Sue will have a one-on-one question and answer session with you,
Yeah.
complimentary.
Yeah.
So that's a wonderful offer. Um,
And it's on sale. It's Prime Days at Amazon. So you'll get a deal
Oh, that's
today.
right. It is Prime Days at Amazon. Yeah, so we took, let's see, we have the results. I do that, and then I actually had a second poll. Okay, stop sharing. Do this right. Do this right, Kimberly. Okay. This is for me for future webinars. We have need to. We're looking for guests for. We have someone in August, September, and October. We need folks for September and October, and then we have someone for November. But I'm kind of curious about what different topics people are interested in. So I've got leadership, mental health, entrepreneurship, diversity and inclusion, relationships, in I guess all its forms, purpose and vision, or specifically on writing books and publishing, like more in depth about that.
Mhm.
And I'll mention here, I mentioned August. We do have someone booked for August. She is with us now, Marie Claude DeRosier. I'm always saying that wrong. I'm so sorry, Marie Claude. Marie Claude was a former client of ours, or is a client now. DeRosier. It's aiming for your North Star.
Ooh,
Yeah, you talked
nice.
about North Star.
I did.
How
Yes.
visibility became your North Star, and you have to like pick
Yeah,
that North Star for yourself. So I love
for
that tie-in.
sure. I love that.
Yeah, aiming for your North Star, the 4 phases to reach liftoff for your growth journey. So we're going to be talking about
Ooh,
her book.
nice.
So we have some answers to the second poll. Folks want to know about leadership, mental health, and entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
Okay, so we can definitely focus on that. Um, and that. Okay, so are there any questions? I don't see any open questions. Okay, well, I'm going to go through and read some of these hashtag visibility connections. We had a few of those. Let's go back here. A couple people said they love Brene Brown. I do too. I started with The Gifts of Imperfection,
I did
and
too.
I was listening to, I don't think it was a podcast, it was just a video on YouTube today, and she was talking about how difficult it was for her to come up with um, a framework for the topic that she was working on. And I can't remember what the framework was, but what the missing piece um, was something related to discovering your near enemy, your close enemy. Does that sound like anything that?
Hmm. That's
Yeah, I'm
not
gonna have to
ringing a
go back
bell
and
to
look at
me.
that again.
Yeah, I don't remember
And how
that.
something about knowing what that was would show you what you needed to really be working on in your life. I love the way
Oh,
her mind thinks.
I
And
do too. She's
yeah.
amazing.
Thea says visibility, perfection is an illusion. And Ria, hashtag visibility, show up as yourself. And then also one about playing small and rise up and be bigger. This is also Ria, rise up and be bigger than you are. Be open to the spotlight. Yikes. That I think is a little bit of a yikes to some people.
Yeah.
She also says, hashtag visibility. I like that to support introverts and drawing them into the conversation and giving them a chance to speak. And it's being one myself. I don't struggle with that so much. It's how often I have to go out and engage. So go out
Mm-hmm.
and be visible and what that takes from me on an energy level. So if there's a conference or something that can just totally wipe me out. I have to like make sure that the week I get back from something that's a multi-day thing, I don't have anything for a whole week afterwards
Yeah.
because I am just completely drained. And that's like for me part of being an introvert. Um, so I have to be very careful about how many things I schedule in a
Yep.
week or in a month and close to them, and how much time that I choose to engage and the way I engage, because I might be able to speak up and be heard and be friendly and be vibrant, but then I'm totally wiped out
Right.
energy
Well,
wise. Is it like that for you at all?
oh, 100%. Well, it's funny because I was at an event where I was meeting a lot of people and I was telling this person that I know, and they were like, so you're an extrovert. I'm like, no, this is painful for me right
Yeah.
now, honestly. They're like, you would never know that. I said, yeah, because I'm great at showing my extroverted side, but it's not really who I am at my core. And I do need to go home and recharge. And like networking events are hard for me, but once I'm there, I'm fine. It's the thought of going there. And sometimes going to, I think what helped me is I don't have to meet all 150 people there or 250 people there. I'm just going to meet one person at a time. And
Mhm.
that really helped me start to think about just meet one or two people, just make that your goal and not to meet everybody. And it just made it less pressure filled for me. And another hint that somebody gave me was pretend you're the host of the event, because the host has no, pressure on them. They just want to make sure everybody's having a good time. And I thought that was so interesting, right? Because you have a different energy when you walk in as like, well, this is my event. I'm the host. I'm just making sure everybody's good. Everybody good? Okay, good.
What if you're the host who's also a perfectionist? And then you're absolutely losing your bananas every second.
Yeah, yeah.
I,
You have to
I
be good with imperfection, but
definitely. Okay. Um,
I see a question here. I don't know
Yeah,
if we
Avery
want.
asked, how do you gain visibility through social media? I guess we talked about that, like in a safe way.
I think it's just deciding what it is you want to do. So a lot of people have different ideas of what they want to do. Some people want to do video or write blogs or whatever that is. Whatever it is you choose, just be consistent. So my goal with the beginning of this is a long game. I'm going to just publish something every day initially, and then I went to weekly with my blog, but I still post on social media every single day. So I create 30 days of content every month, go through and decide what it looks like. The biggest game changer, though, for me in terms of social media was I wasn't using my picture, my video, my words. I was posting other people's articles, but I had a blurb from me.
Mhm.
As soon as I started to change all that and use my picture, my words, everything was from me, it changed everything. And now people are showing up in my world to work with me that I don't know if that would have happened before that. So you got to get comfortable with it for sure. I understand that not everybody wants to do videos and have all that out there, but I've gotten way more comfortable with it. And I just want to tell you, if I can do it, anybody can, because I went into my own Facebook group where it was only me the first time to go live, just because I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't want to show up in a bad way. And I realized it's not as bad as I thought it was. It actually looked pretty good. So whatever you have to do to get comfortable, just practice on your own and it'll get easier.
We think about, you mentioned about you were starting out with commenting on other people's articles.
Mhm.
I mean, so like the difference between showing up with your own ideas versus in a meeting, right? Versus saying,
Mhm.
oh, I like her idea. I like
Yeah,
his idea.
hers is great. Yeah, it's
It's
exactly what
great.
it was.
I like that one. I love that
Yes.
one. I support this one, which is great to do, but it really shines a light on the other person
For sure.
more than
Yeah.
it does yourself. So I think that original content is super, super important. I know it's something that I have to work on more. Um, okay, so some people are saying thank you here. I did not pick a winner. I scrolled through and started reading and got distracted by that. The one that I landed on actually at the time is Thea's, and it's hashtag visibility. Um, it wasn't that way. It's perfection is an illusion. Like that.
Well,
I have to remember
I
that.
know Thea. So Thea, this is good for you because you're going to get your book.
Okay.
She was
Yes.
just
So
saying
Avery,
she needed a book.
well, she's going to get one now. So Avery is going
Sweet.
to, it's going to look like it came from me, but it's going to be Avery. She's going to be messaging you and asking for your address so we can get you that one. This is not going to be your book because this is my book, but I have another book, this book that will be your book. That makes sense. Okay.
That's so awesome.
And yeah, so these last couple of minutes here, we're going to put up, I don't know if Chaz or not, or you can scroll. It's not really that big of a chat this time to order Susan's book. And again, if you want to order it and you send her your receipt, email her the receipt, she'll set up a complimentary question and answer session with you. And I think Avery's also going to put up some links for our Facebook Book Blossom group that we have established and need to do more with. And there's your email, Susan, so people can email you with the receipt. Also, we help people write books. We do that at the Editor Garden. I didn't mention that. We have a process. It's called the 4-stage flourish process. So if you're interested in writing a book and you need help, you can contact us at the Editor Garden. We have a whole page about our, so she put it up here, I think. Yeah, about our process, our flourish process. And again, next week next month we're gonna talk about aiming for your North Star, the 4 phases to reach liftoff for your growth journey. So when you see that, and we'll be sending you guys an invitation, please join us then. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you. Yeah. And
It's
if
I
you
haven't
need,
said this word in a long time, but it's been a hoot,
oh,
a hoot and a half.
a hoot and a half. Yeah. With
And
all our little imperfections we dealt with, but it all came
we
together.
got through it. We were visible. We had some laughs. It was very inspiring. And so thank you so much.
Of
Thank you
course.
so much.
Thanks for
This
having
is
me.
Yeah, this is our third one. We want Book Blossom. We want to keep doing them. Um, it's just been amazing for me, and I've been meeting some great people.
Oh, well,
So
that's
even
the
if I don't get a
beautiful.
single client from it, I don't care. I'm having a really great time doing it.
Well, it builds
But
credibility in your brand, if nothing
yeah,
else, right? And
right.
yeah, and if anybody is interested, I have a podcast by the same name as the book, The Visibility Factor, that I'm doing a lot of content that is very similar to the book, but also in interviewing guests and stuff too. So love to have you listen to the podcast and send me a note and let me know what you think of it.
Definitely listen to it. I've sent you a couple of notes. I'm loving it.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right. Well, everyone
Thanks,
have a good
everybody.
evening. Thank you again.
Okay,
And hopefully we'll meet in the space again.
sounds
Bye.
good. Thanks, everybody. Bye. Thanks for coming.